work on myself. I had to work on my trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
Then little by little, I started trusting God. And then I became obedient. And I'm like, okay, God, I trust you. I trust you when I can't trace you, you know?
Yeah.
And I had to get to that point where I didn't trust in a man because, one almost killed me and took my life.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, trusting God, and that was a process. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was God's grace and mercy. And I
Yeah.
think we have to give ourselves grace and
Yes,
mercy
we do.
like God gives us.
Right? I think on occasion,
Uh-huh.
I had to be okay with never ever being in a relationship again. And I
Yes.
think that many people get scared with that part. If you're
Yes.
single, you want to be in a relationship, right? Like you feel
Mm-hmm.
incomplete, especially if you lack an identity. You feel incomplete
Right. You
without a
feel,
partner,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You might
Yep.
feel incomplete without children, or you
Right.
you feel incomplete without family, right? So
Right.
you need something to fill that void. And God is like, no, that's a God-sized void. Like
Yes.
this stuff is
Yes.
not going to fill that void, right?
Yep.
So I had to
Mm-hmm.
focus on working on my relationship with God and be
Yes.
okay with the fact that I could be single the rest of my life. Like,
Yep.
is it ideal? No. But do I want to like waver on certain standards that I have set?
Yeah.
No. Like not for a person that I may be compromising even, it got to the point where it's like, okay, they don't even have to be that attractive. To me, I'm not
Right.
putting myself out like I'm this supermodel, but I might not
No,
even
no,
have
no,
to be
no.
that
Your
attracted
standards,
to
your
to a
standards
person.
with,
Yeah, if
yep,
as long as they could like fit into this, like I want them to be able to. I had something now. I had some. The standards weren't even that high at that point, but it's like, oh my
I had
goodness.
no standards. I had no standards. I was so codependent. Oh my goodness.
Oh
I was so codependent because I was angry with God. I was
yeah,
so angry with God because
yeah.
I'm like, God, how could you saw this happen? And being my dad was a minister and he was called by God. So he just faith is without, just that his foundation and how God sees all and he hears all. Well, why didn't you saw what they did to me? You heard what they did to me. Why didn't you save me? Why didn't you prevent this? And so I dealt with, like, oh, okay, God, well, you don't love me. You didn't care about me. So I'm about to become rebellious. And I was angry with God. And I was like, nope, I don't want to hear from you, God. Leave me alone. I don't want to hear from you. And I just went and I got myself in different situations and more trauma. I mean, that was the beginning of my trauma. And I call myself the woman with the issue of drugs for so many years. It's like Job. It's like I'm a modern day Job in a female body because trauma after trauma, domestic violence, sexual assault, rapes, so I just speak about the one rape, but it's so many rapes, so much stuff that I endured. And I was just so broken and I love God because he was like, I need you to write this book. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I did it. Reluctantly, I did it. And God gave me grace and mercy. And
Mm-hmm.
now the more relationship that I have built, and I'm like, God, you love me. So had to work on myself. I had to say, okay, I know who I am because I know whose I am. I am
Mm-hmm.
God's beloved daughter.
Yeah.
So now it's like, you know, I'm okay being single. I'm like, God, I want to stay single because, I want to stay single because, that means I got to give up my time with you. And I'm intentional with God. And it's so funny because I, 5 years ago, in September, the last month of September, I had walked away from a marriage. I almost lost my life during that marriage.
Mm,
And
mm,
I called out to God. I was like, God, save me. When his hands was around my neck, and he was, and I mean, when I said I got beat, I got beat.
mhm,
And just, there was no bruises. And I remember he looking me in my face and he was like, are you going to call the police? And I was like, I can't, because
mhm,
who's going to help me? Who's going to take care of me? Who's going to help me with our child? And I remember just crying out to God, save me. And I remember looking in his, not God's eyes, but the person who was beating me. And I'm looking at this this person. I'm like, whatever took over him, and God stopped him. And so then that was the beginning of, okay, God, I need to get out of here. And so, God started transferring, putting things in action.
mhm,
And so 5 years ago, the last Friday in September, I walked away from a abusive marriage.
mhm,
And I was afraid to drive. Um,
mm,
but I drove from Lexington, Kentucky, all the way here to
mm,
Georgia.
mm,
And so last couple of days ago, and I filed for him, and I was like, okay, we need divorce and all that stuff. And then I'm like, what's the holdup? What's the holdup? And so then God's so intentional. I got the letter, and it stated that I have a court appearance I got my court date, and it's for next month, the last
mm.
Friday. And I'm
Wow.
like, God is so amazing,
Yeah.
because he's so completion, because I'm like, wow, God, 5 years ago, I walked away. I made that decision. I was in
Mm,
fear that
yeah.
I could not
Yeah.
drive. I was afraid.
Yeah.
But in between, my house was my prison.
Mm,
um I had low self-esteem. I was codependent. I
mm,
was like, oh, I'm gonna help this person, I'm gonna
yeah.
help that person. Oh, God's gonna save me, because
Mm,
my wealth, my self-worth was in relation. And then I was like, you know what, no more relationships. And I became celibate.
mm,
I became celibate, this going on, what, 3 years or so, 3 to 4
mm.
years, because I'm like, I need to work on Karen.
Yeah. So you needed to, Karen
I
needed
need to
to
work.
take back,
Karen needed some help.
Karen needed to take back her life, is what
I
I'm
need to
hearing.
take my life. Yeah.
You and
And I
you had
took back
you
my life.
and then it sounds like it started from uh a decision. You
Yeah.
made a decision that
Yeah.
things need to change.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know how these changes are going to take place, but I know,
Yeah.
like, I know that I'm calling on you, Lord,
Yep.
and I need your help. I know that I lived outside of your will,
Yep.
right? I've
Yep.
done things my way for many, many years, but God, I'm
Yep.
calling you.
Yep.
I am down this dark hole,
Yep.
right? I don't
Yep.
know how I'm getting out. I
Yep.
am imprisoned in my own life, in my own
Mhm.
house, and many states don't even recognize marital rape. So
Mhm.
who do I call for
Yep.
escape? And but I do know that I need to get out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to change my environment, change the
Yep.
situation,
Yep.
because if not, I'm gonna die here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you made
Yeah.
a decision
Yep.
to take back your life,
Yep.
and you've been making that decision every day for the last 5 years, right?
Yes.
Because it's
Every day.
every day, it's a
It's a
mindset
every
thing,
day.
right?
I have to
Every day.
decide. It's
Every
I have.
day. Yeah. Because Romans 12:2, I believe, talks about renewing your mind
Mhm.
every single day. It's a daily thing, right?
Yep.
Because one day you can wake up and say, I don't like being single, right?
Right. Right.
Like I need somebody
Yeah.
next to
Yeah.
me because I don't
Right.
like the way this feels.
Right.
Or, I don't trust you, God, today. And how
Right.
many times do we wake up and we say, I don't trust, I don't know what you're doing, right?
Mhm. Yep.
I don't trust your process. You're not
Mhm.
doing it the way that I want you
Yeah.
to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not feeling this. So
Yep.
every day you got to renew your mind and set it back
Mhm.
on Jesus Christ being our savior, and
Yes.
and knowing his word says that I will never leave you nor forsake you,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
actually believing that truth versus many of the lies that we hear from the world
Mhm.
and that we hear in our own heads, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We got to combat that all the time with,
Yeah.
like, we hear something that is in our head that we are, you're not this person, you're not worthy of that, and you
Mhm.
deserve this. And we got
Yep.
to combat that with the truth of God, who God believes that
Mhm.
you are, what his word says that you are,
Yep.
what his word says that he is in his
Yep.
character, and look at his track record, right?
Yes. Right.
Look at the
And
track record.
and then it's so fun because I had trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
Trust issues just from the being in domestic violence relationships. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
really. And I didn't trust God. And
Mm-hmm.
God was like, it's okay. So I had to get the root cause of my trust issues.
Yeah.
And then I started working on trust issues with my therapist.
Yeah.
Not with my girlfriend across the
Yeah.
street, not with my sister,
Yeah.
but someone who's licensed and who can be frank. And I love the fact how you were like, I didn't want to hear your mouth. You was like hearing you codependent. I was like, whatever. So you're fighting. I had to fight. And then finally, I'm like, I am codependent.
Mm-hmm.
I need to fix this. I
Yeah.
had to fix my trust issue because when God sends me the man that he wants me to have,
Mm-hmm.
not who I want, but the
Mm-hmm.
man who, if he does, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay if he does it,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm okay with being single.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have to, how can I be a Proverbs 31 wife?
Mm. Yeah.
How can I be um a safe haven for the man that God sends me?
Yeah.
How can I be peace? How can I be, what love, God's
Yeah.
love to the man God? So I had to work on myself. I had to work on my trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
Then little by little, I started trusting God. And then I became obedient. And I'm like, okay, God, I trust you. I trust you when I can't trace you, you know?
Yeah.
And I had to get to that point where I didn't trust in a man because, one almost killed me and took my life.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, trusting God, and that was a process. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was God's grace and mercy. And I
Yeah.
think we have to give ourselves grace and mercy
Yes, we do.
like God gives us.
Yes, we do. But since you've begun to as you begun to take back your life, right? You made decisions. You made one decision that led to many decisions to become the person that you are today.
Right.
I like to say, like, change starts with a decision. Like,
Yes.
you have to make that decision that you want to do something different, and it doesn't
Mhm.
always come at rock bottom times, right?
Right.
Because many
Right.
of us been at rock bottom,
Uh-huh.
and the way we feel when we've hit rock bottom isn't constant, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we're there, and if we're in a bad relationship, and just use that as an example, we're in a bad relationship, and today's a terrible day.
Hmm.
You know he talked to us, he talked down to us like a dog, he treated us
Hmm.
like dirt, and you know he broke my nose, or
Right.
whatever they may have brought. And we feel like, I'm leaving this dude because you're not going to treat me this way. I'm not going to
Right.
continue to sit here and stand and be in this relationship where I'm going to be treated horribly. And you feel good about that decision because you feel bad about the situation. But
Hmm.
give it some time, and give the situation a little breathing room. You forget how you felt
Right.
at that rock bottom when he's coming with the flowers, or
Right.
he's coming with the gifts, or he's coming with the I will never do, yada yada
Yeah.
yada.
Yes.
The whole all
The whole I'm
the yeah,
sorry.
my relationship, I didn't get I'm sorry.
Oh, I
I
got I'm sorry afterwards. I got, and it's so funny because I told him, I said, I'm leaving. And prior, when I made that decision, I was like, he left for 3 days. And
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, God. And he told me that he said, I did not lay my hands on you.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is crazy because I'm going to give you that. That means that you did not know, you were blacked out. Next time you will kill me. I love me
Mm,
more than you love me, and I'm going to leave. And I told him, did I leave the next day? No, I still was working. And God is so intentional, because then my job ended up selling all four of their stores to the corporation. And I was like, okay, God, this is your will, and I'm going to your will. So yeah, I got the I'm sorry. And I remember the day that I had packed my U-Haul truck. My ex told me, he said, you know what? I understand that when we argue, that's how you love me. And I looked at him
mm.
like, you know, lost your mind. And I'm like,
But no, but you know what? That's how many abusers, verbal
mm-hmm,
abusers, physical abusers,
mm-hmm,
emotional, that's what they think, because it's a lot of it's learned behavior. I've talked to, many
mm-hmm,
men, and us females have that
mm-hmm,
verbal stuff too. Like, I'm not like excluding the fact that we
right,
can be verbally abusive. This
right,
it's not impossible for us to be
right,
physically abusive, but
mm-hmm,
it's not as prominent because we're usually smaller in stature, right?
right,
But
right,
most people who are the abuser, they learned it from somewhere.
right,
And the fact that people stay, the people
yeah,
that they grew up with, or they witnessed, stayed in these relationships,
mm-hmm,
that's how they equate love,
right,
right? So to many people, I talked about this in another video about um not being able to change people, especially if they don't want to change. Like, we don't have the power to change someone. Now,
mm-hmm,
many people don't want to change because they don't think they're doing anything wrong,
right,
because that's what they believe love is. But that's
yes,
also how you know that God's not in that, right?
yes,
Because
yes,
that's not how that's that's not how God demonstrates his love for us, right?
exactly,
Like,
exactly,
he didn't send Jesus Christ on the cross to be sacrificed and die for our sins, right? Um
right,
for us to be in, these toxic situations, these
yeah,
abusive situations. He didn't say, I love you, go get abused.
right,
Like, and I'm all up in that abuse, right?
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's not something, that's not a relationship that's edifying to God. But we do need to wrap up.
okay,
And my producer slash husband is in the background telling me that I need to wrap up. So we're going to wrap up. But before
okay,
we do,
uh-huh.
where can the people reach you?
They can reach me on Instagram,
Okay.
Karen Danzey on Instagram, also Sexual Assault Safe Space.
Okay.
They can reach me at that on Sexual Assault Safe Space. In there, I talk about my story. It's like I post, I help others. Also, empowerment through makeup. That is one avenue that I have
Mhm.
taken on, is to talk about, is to empower those who are who have been through trauma, sexual assault, domestic violence.
Mhm.
It's just my platform, because I have my LLC, Sexual Assault Safe Space, SAS, aka SAS. So yeah,
And Empowerment Through Makeup is your YouTube channel,
my
correct?
YouTube channel,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And then my book, it's on part one and part two. So it's also going to be an audiobook. So I want the audiobook and the book to come at the same time.
And we are so excited about that. Uh,
Yes.
your book coming out. I know that I'm looking forward to reading it and
Yes.
sharing it
It's
with others.
yes. I'm excited because my kids are able to read my story.
Okay.
None of them, there's like, my I can't read the first
Mm,
part. Not because they didn't support, but because they didn't want to identify with
mm,
me as a sexual assault victim.
okay. Okay. But now that
Now,
you identify as a
a
warrior,
warrior. Yes. Now they can be empowered by my work. And they are.
that's awesome. And that's why it's so important to understand who you are as a person, how you
Yes.
identify, in order to live a stable and constant life, right?
Yes.
And to
Yes.
be able to share your story with others so that
Yes.
they can be healed, and um, that you can hopefully uh, deter
Yes.
some people from experiencing some of the things that you've experienced in life, right?
Yes. Yes. And that's all. If one person is changed by my story, that's all that matters, because it's not about me. It's about
Mm,
others.
it is about others. Awesome. Well, I thank you, Karen, for your
Thank
time
you.
and for
Thank you
your
for having me.
expertise and for sharing your story.
Well, thank
And
you.
I thank you for your friendship, and I thank
Thank,
you for your support and
thank
your
you.
encouragement.
Thank
And
you.
we will wrap up this session of Take
Okay.
Back Your Life uh, by saying, see you later.
See you later. Bye bye. Love you. Bye.